the first thing you'll see, guys, is this page, and this is where you can download Xampp. So all you need to do, guys, is to click this button here, download whichever version of Xampp is appropriate for you, whether you're using Windows or Linux or OS 10. So you need to click this one if you're downloading for Windows, this one if you're downloading for Linux, and this one if you're downloading for OS 10. Quick note, guys, Xampp now supports PHP 7, but we are not using PHP 7 in this course. We're sticking to PHP 5 for now. Once PHP 7 becomes more sort of recognized, we will be using PHP 7 instead. How resource intensive is Xampp versus Xampp? There is no resource intensity difference, really. They're both about the exact same. In fact, running an Apache module and a database module, they carry the exact same workload, really. Okay, cool, so we're good to go. And so basically, guys, there's a couple of things I need to note at this point. First of all, I'll be showing the installation process for Windows because the majority of you guys are Windows users. However, there are some differences when installing on Linux and Mac, and I will be talking about those differences as we get to those points. So the first thing I want to talk about is if you're on Windows, you'll receive this warning. It'll say, because of activated user account control on your system, some functions of Xampp are possibly restricted. Don't worry about the warning, guys, that's absolutely fine. We just need to not install Xampp in the program file subfolder, and additionally we still need to run Xampp as an administrator anyway, so I'll be going through the process of that later. As a Mac or Linux user, you won't get this warning. However, there are still configuration things you'll need to do to give Xampp access to the appropriate folders so that it can make the appropriate changes. Right, so the next step, guys, is you can just follow the installation process until you get to this page, at which point you will need to select your installation folder for Xampp. I highly recommend the default installation location, which is C drive /Xampp. If you want to put it somewhere else, you can, but just be careful because it can mess with the installation. It can mess with the running of Xampp as well. Once you've decided on your installation folder, you're free to just keep clicking continue until it starts the installation process. And at that point, just wait until it's completed the installation. This is the same across all operating systems, guys, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And then once the wizard is completed, it'll say that setup is finished installing Xampp on your computer. Would you like to start the control panel now? The answer is no. You want to untick that box because there's a couple more configuration options that we'll need to change before we are ready to use Xampp. So just click on the finish, and then now I'm going to show you in a practical way exactly how we can get Xampp to start working on our computer. A couple of notes here, guys. If you are on Windows 10, you will have to disable a thing called htdocs because it currently is not compatible with Apache. If you are on Windows 10, send an email to support or to your support manager and we will help you out with that. Additionally, guys, if you are running Skype, or if you have an installation of WordPress on your computer, or if you have an installation of the other amps, the WAMPs, the MAMPs, the LAMPs, those cannot be running at the same time as Xampp. So you need to make sure you quit those programs completely. And when I say completely, I mean you need to go to your task manager, you need to go and right click on the particular process and click on the end task button, because otherwise Skype has a tendency to like to run in the background, and that's a bad thing because then your Xampp will not work. Okay, so as I said, you need to make sure that Skype and WordPress and all of that stuff is not running on your computer in order to get Xampp running. And the second thing, guys, is if I go to my File Explorer, and I'm going to drag this box over here, and we're going to navigate to where Xampp is installed. So for us in Windows, it'll be C drive Xampp. It'll be in your applications folder, guys, if you're in Mac. And if you're in Mac or Linux, you can just search for it in your super search tool, your Spotlight, and the Linux equivalent of Spotlight. Unfortunately, Windows is not quite there yet in terms of the speed of its searchability, but never mind. So we're looking for this file. We're looking for Xampp control.exe as a Windows user. Once we're here, we need to right click and click on the properties button. So if you click on the properties button, you'll get a little window that looks like this. And then once you're here, you need to go to the compatibility tab and you need to check the box that says run this program as an administrator. You need, of course, this is already done for me because I've done a previous installation of Xampp and I've already got Xampp running on this computer. But just to give you an example, you tick the box, run the program as an administrator, then you click on the apply button, and then you click on the OK button. Guys, if you are running Linux or Mac, I can't unfortunately demonstrate this to you guys because I'm running Windows, but you need to give it file access to the htdocs subfolder. You need to give it access to its own folder to make changes to the Xampp folder itself, because otherwise there will be some tasks that it's unable to do. Okay, so that is the sort of setup for Xampp, and once you've done all of that, you can actually run the Xampp file. So I'm going to go and click on xampcontrol.exe, and because I've got user account control on this computer, it's asked me if I'd like to give Xampp administrator access. The answer is yes, guys. So I've got Xampp control running now, and now, guys, all I need to do is click on the start button for Apache, and I need to click on the start button for MySQL. And once these two are running, we now have a server running on our computer. So you can give yourself a pat on the back if you get here successfully. If there are any errors, you will see the errors here and you can work through them, guys. Troubleshoot, ask your support manager, search on the internet. Any of the errors that appear here, you can work through it and figure it out. Depending on what system you're on, depending on Mac or Linux, you will come across some issues, particularly because Apache uses port 80, which is a very popular port to use, unfortunately. But the upside, of course, is that it's the default port for accessing local hosts. So I'm going to show you guys that now in just a moment.